What's up guys, and welcome to this breakdown of iRacing's Week 3 Season 3. Today, we're going to be looking at one of the best multi-class track on the calendar, which is, unsurprisingly, Spa. We're also going to be looking at Mugello in the LMP3 and the GT4, and also, to round up my top 3, we're going to be looking at the Mazda Cup race to bring back some good or bad memories from the rookie class. And, finally, an EV race that has no business being held on the Nordschleife. Let's start things strong here with the IMSA iRacing series landing at Spa this week. Spa isn't just a nice pick on paper, it's basically a series institution at this point. Counting the current laser scan and the older 2010 version together, and you're looking at number 8 and number 10 on the IMSA's all-time most used track list. And if you combine them both, you're actually around top 4 or 5 most raced in IMSAs. All in all, that's somewhere around 3,000 races run here, with an average of over 2,100 different unique drivers. If we only look at the most recent visit, this one alone pulled around 25,000 entries of unique drivers, which would rank 5th highest in this series' entire history, beaten only by a handful of Daytona Weeks, Sebring, or any other tracks like this. For comparison, MotoGP last week's avoid pick for me has shown up 3 times ever and averages under 3,500. Car-wise, I would go with what everyone else is bringing. Historically, the Ferrari 296, GT3, and the Porsche 911 are the lead picks historically for the GT3s in the series, and the 963 Porsche is the runaway favorite in the GTP category. One more thing worth knowing about the in-game start time is the fact that it's set at 3:05 p.m. GMT, which means the track will have had an entire day to bake in the sun and take in some heat. So even a comfortable 26 degrees and 0 rain will mean that the tarmac is going to run hotter than the numbers suggest, and it won't cool off much across a 45-minute race. That retained heat is exactly what turns a clean first stint into a sliding second one once people start pushing by the end and after a pit for fuel. With that being said, I would recommend for you guys to pace yourselves. And I know it's easier said than done because Spa is basically a track that everyone knows and everyone can push, so it's harder to pace yourselves when the competitiveness is up there. To me, if you only race one thing this week, I would make it this one. For my second choice, and for the second week in a row, we're heading to the Sports Car Challenge by Falken Tires. Mugello's only been on this series calendar since 2024, so out of the 15 seasons it's actually had a shot at being scheduled, it's shown up 4 times. That's a little bit better than 1 in 4. It's also landed in Season 1 and Season 3, every single year since debuting like clockwork. So we're only going to see this track again in Season 1 of 2027. Turnout keeps climbing too. Turnout keeps climbing too. Turnout keeps climbing too. Under 3,000 on its first outing is up now to 7,000 on its most recent. It's the best numbers yet. It's not a Spa level dominant or a Watkins Glen dominant if we want to be series specific, but it's clearly a track that this series likes to come back to. For cars, the Mercedes and the Porsche GT4s are the most popular picks here, and honestly, with that track, front grip demanding and a turn-in demanding, and Arrabbiata 1 and 2 will punish anything that doesn't bite hard on entry like these two. The in-game noon start actually works against you here. It's right when the track's heating up rather than cooling down, and even with mild air temps at 23 degrees and nothing on the radar, 30 minutes isn't long, but don't read that as low tire stress because this track is very, very demanding. If Spa is your main course this week, I do believe that this is a very solid second helping. My third pick, and it's the simplest, most honest pick this week, it's the advanced Mazda MX-5 Cup by Using Veld at Road Atlanta Full Course. This isn't a novelty pairing. Road Atlanta's shown up on this series calendar in some form 10 times across the last 23 logged seasons, which is almost 50% basically every other season. If we only stick to the full course layout though, the one that we're racing this week specifically because we've raced the short and the club version of this track in the past, well, we're actually looking at 7 completed visits, which are averaging around 5,400 drivers and topping out at 9,000 just last season, which was its best showing yet. The MX-5 Cup and this track have a long-running relationship, and the irises like us keep showing up for it. Road Atlanta doesn't need much of an intro. If you spent any time in sim racing, you know that the S's, they test your rhythm. They're not that... Road Atlanta doesn't need much of an intro if you spent any time in sim racing. The S's, they test your rhythm. They're not easy to take flat out. The elevation change at turn 10 can catch some people off guard, and the turn 12's braking zone is where most of the overtakes either happen or get thrown away to the next lap. This is a single car, single class, no traffic race. It's simply just 30 minutes of pure racing. But be aware, it is warm out there. 29 degrees with no rain, so the tire temps will come fast, which will probably play in the MX-5's low grip ceiling. If you want a clean test of your own pace this week, with no excuses and a little bit of wheel banging, this will be the one for you. And now, with my only to avoid pick of the week is the Ringmaster running the Porsche Mission R. Weather on paper is fine, and the track itself is fine. I don't race the Nordschleife as much as I used to, but it's still a fan favorite. Although, even if it's a fan favorite, people will not race everything imaginable here. And there's the problem. This is back-to-back bad weeks for the Ringmasters. Last week, it was the Ford Mustang FR 500S, a car that's already a handful on the Ring's industrial section. This week, they've swapped it with the Mission R, a heavy, instant torque EV. The combination of weight and immediate power delivery is brutal through the tighter blind sections of the industrial course, where you need progressive throttle application, not a car that wants to spin its tires the moment you breathe on the pedal. I won't try to talk about it for too long. I think the Porsche Mission R is a choice that speaks for itself. It's a bad car that doesn't have any other series to run with, and it's a bad car and track combo. And I don't understand why iRacing decided on this car for this week. So that's 2 strikes in a row for Ringmasters. Now, even if I wouldn't recommend the Ringmasters, I would like to point out that NAC is this weekend. Now, if you can't really go a week without racing the Nürburgring, don't worry, you'll be able to. Now, I want to give a quick shout out before we close out. The iRacing Porsche Cup by Conspit is at Imola. One thing worth knowing is if you're choosing either one of the series, either the fixed or the open setup one, the fixed setup version sits at a dry 27 degrees with no rain chance, but the open setup version is sitting at 23 degrees with a 36% rain chance. So if you queue up into open class, keep an eye out on the sky, because a wet Imola in a 911 Cup car is a very different race. It's going to be tight and competitive racing, but it's not quite cracking the top 3 this week for me, but it's only due to the fact that there are better car and track combinations on the surface. Now before I go, I would actually like to give a dishonorable mention, which is the IMSA Endurance at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And here's what actually bugs me about this pick. Like, I know the actual real IMSA race is going on at Mosport on the 11th and 12th of July, and they're simply trying to replicate the real IMSA calendar, and that's fine. But I would have liked for Spa to have a longer endurance event. The Spa 24-hour, going green on July 10th, is less than a week later. Scheduling a team racing version of IMSA at the same track the Sprint Series is already running would have handed every team a prepping opportunity for the real thing days before it counted. Now you could say, well, multi-class is not the same, and this 24 hours special event is GT3 only, but most iRacers are already driving the GT3s. So that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this short video. Hopefully every iRacing week could be like this week. but I know that to be great, you also need to be bad sometimes. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope that you enjoy your racing this week. See ya.